What's up, everybody? Axe Wizard here, working on my game some more. It's a fact I've been working on this for quite a few days and wrestling with a few things that we'll get into. But I think at this point, I'm pretty much feature complete for my port from GameMaker to Godot as far as current progress. Not feature complete of the whole game, obviously. There's still lots to do. But if we run the game in GameMaker, I have a different background set, but it's very, very similar. And I mean, you get to see I have the sound turned way down for GameMaker because I wasn't able to figure out the audio issue yet. But as you can see, I am a little ship here, and I can run around, and yeah, so I'm flying around. Now if I hit G to get it on, everybody starts fighting. So you can see I've got markers, like red rectangles around the people who are targeting me or who I'm in combat with. I don't have that in Godot yet, because I want to get like a more official sort of marker, and I also want to have like an arrow pointing from my player ship to that. And then another key detail that's different is that in GameMaker, bullets only hit people who are on your enemy list, whereas in Godot, currently right now I have it so bullets will just hit anybody except you. So oftentimes your own team might decimate their own ships. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it for GameMaker. Now if we go into Godot and we run this here, you can see I am a ship, but I have thrusters on the sides and everything. I can strafe left and right, which is kind of cool. I can zoom in and out, and then if I hit G, everybody starts fighting. Problem is, you know, bullets can hit everybody, so we're pretty much just obliterating stuff. I also have more guns on this ship than I did on the other one. But I like it so far. It's coming along nicely. Now the audio is still jacked up. I'm still fighting with the audio stuff, but we're going to get into that in just a little bit. But I'm basically caught up to where I was in GameMaker. This is pretty much the same game, except you can't tell who's targeting me specifically or who is an enemy. This guy's derping out. What's he doing? Oh, there he goes. I can't see. They're all coming for me. What's up, losers? Let me just strafe out of here and light you up. Oh no, I just flew face first into a missile. But yeah, so pretty cool stuff. Coming along nicely. So yeah, let's talk about what I've been able to accomplish since the last episode. So first things first, I did the title screen. Let's just jump into the small stuff first before I jump into the big stuff, which is this audio manager here. So title screen. What I did for that is we go down here to my file system and UI and title screen scene. You can see I just sort of made a quick and dirty title screen that's very similar to the one I had in GameMaker. Now the one in GameMaker had, you know, like a stylized button that I was playing with, but then I actually just kind of like the plain text. I might rework this a little bit, but basically how I built this is that I just started with a margin container, and then I put a texture reticle in there, and this allows me to resize the thing. So if we run the game, you can see that I can click and drag and wait for it. There we go. So I can resize it. Now it's not keeping like the aspect ratio, it's just kind of stretching to fit, which looks pretty derpy. But you can see that the UI elements kind of move on their own. So if someone's playing on a super wide screen, like I could put black bars on the sides and stuff like that, but it's not really a big deal for me. I can go full screen, I can go back down. It just works. I couldn't do that in GameMaker. So I have this margin container that just basically stretches to the maximum of the view, the window height and width. I put a texture reticle in there that sort of just expands, and my size flags over here. You might be able to see I've got it set to fill and expand for both vertical and horizontal. And then I also have another container inside the margin container, which is an H-box container or horizontal box container. And what this is doing is that there's effectively two items inside this HBox container. There's a VBox container, which contains like my buttons and stuff. And then there's another margin container, which sort of just has my label. So if we go to the VBox section here, we can see we've got 3 different items in here. We have another margin container that I just set to expand, named margin or top padding, because that's kind of what it is. And then I got my menu items, and I have my bottom padding section here. If I didn't have those, what would happen is the buttons would just span the whole way here. So they would just fill up the entire space. So I put a bit of padding here, and I made it so it's only taking up 1/3 of the space. Now, if I want the buttons to take up a little bit more space, I can go down here into the stretch ratio, and I can crank this up a little bit. So I think, maybe this looks better. So bam, there you go. Now I have a new stretch ratio that the buttons aren't so clustered together. Or if I want to put this back to how it was, just set it back to 1, and then we're good to go. But I kind of like that. What was it? 2.76 is what it was, or whatever. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Yeah. And then if I were to add more buttons in that section, they would just sort of condense down so I can have another button. So if I go to and I just duplicate this button here, you can see now I have 2 buttons. And if I get rid of this button, delete, boom, they're just back to how they were. So cool stuff. I like how it works, and I just have an audio stream player here so that I can play the button sounds and the button clicks, and I have another audio stream player that's dedicated to just the title screen music. So that's all it is, and it's working pretty well. I've got the music, the audio turned down quite a bit because I was still fighting with the audio issues in game, and we're going to get into that soon. But that's really all I did for the title screen. You can see over here I've got some buttons that have signals hooked up to this main script here. And all these are really doing is I just made 2 functions called onHover and onClick that just play the sound I want them to play, which I'm preloading up here. And then I have these auto-generated functions that come up when they are made when I connect the signal from the node inspector. And I just tell them on hover. So with each of my buttons, when the mouse enters, they're just playing the on hover sound. And then when I click a button, they're doing the on click. So for my button new and button exit, those are the only ones I have click events for so far. So the button exit just plays the sound, and then it also just exits the game, which, because you're exiting the game, the sound doesn't play all the way. So maybe I shouldn't even play the sound, but whatever. And then for the new game, I'm playing the sound of the button clicking, and then I'm adding the new game instance. Now this is something kind of wonky that I had to work around, is that you can see my new game is actually a pack scene. I'm preloading this my previous main scene. So in my project settings, I actually went and I set the main scene wherever I set that at. Run maybe? Yeah. I set my main scene to be my title screen. Because when I tried to run my main scene and I tried to create the title screen as a child of that, for some reason, if you have a control node as a child of a node 2D, it's not able to expand all the way. So it was really wonky. And so just because I was in the middle of doing something else where I just took a break and did the title screen, I did a quick and dirty thing where I just made the title screen my main scene, and then I instanced my actual main scene later. But I think if I just go to my main scene here and I just change this from a node 2D to just a node, I think we should be fine. So I'll do that later, but that's what I've got right now. So, but it's working. So we got title screen done. So already that was a lot easier than doing the UI in GameMaker. I mean, if you look in GameMaker, my UI is me manually placing buttons and stuff on the screen. So if we zoom in on this stuff here, I'm manually calculating where to place the title. I'm just getting the room width and then sort of, you know, dividing it by 3 and then timesing it by 2, so I get the 2/3 of the screen, that X point. I'm manually specifying a Y, so it's not responsive at all. Like, you can't resize the window or do anything. So this style sucks. Doing this, where you're making nodes and make it work how you want to in the scene editor, so much better. And you can actually see what it's doing as you're doing it. With Game Maker, I had to do this and then kind of guess, and then I had to run the thing and see where it did and kind of make notes and guesstimates, and it was a pain. It's gross. So, loving Godot. Awesome. So, title screen started. It's not done yet. There's still some things to do to it. I want to add maybe, like, you know, real buttons, and obviously I have to come up with a title for it. I might change the background. I'm not sure, but you know, we have a start and we can improve upon that later. So we've got that done. Next thing I did was I added a zoomable camera. So you probably saw in the game. So I'm going to say I can zoom in and out here, and it looks pretty cool. So how I did that was actually, if we just go to my, I think it's under miscellaneous or other scenes. Yeah, I have a zoom camera scene, and all I did for this is I literally just copied this tutorial from like GD Quest, and I just copied their code, and then I copied their scene structure, which just literally has a camera 2D and a tween node, and I basically copied and pasted, sort of renamed variables to my naming convention. I like to do camel case, which is kind of like this, whereas Godot likes to do the snake case. And I like to do the camel case, that way I can tell that it's a function that I made, as opposed to a function that's like this unhandled input. This is like a built-in method of you know, some node, whether it's a camera 2D or node or whatever the things that it may be extending. So that's just what I like to do. So yeah, that's what I did there. And I should probably also specify the types. Yeah, so there you go. That's just, I just copied and pasted the code, and basically all it's doing is it's using this tween to, like, I can't say the word properly, interpolate between you know, tween between what it was and what we want it to be. So as we do the scroll wheel, you can see we're setting our zoom level, and then it's calling this function that does this stuff here. So cool stuff. If you want to look up tween, that's a pretty cool thing to check out. But to be honest, I didn't really look at what it did that much. It was one of those things I saw. I was like, I think I can do that. And I literally copied and pasted the code into the nodes, and then threw it on my character, and it just worked out of the box. I was like, okay, cool, awesome. This is the best thing ever. As their cool thing about Godot is the fact that everything is like Legos, where you can just snap stuff together. Other languages like Game Maker, it's very hard to get something, you know, that you can copy and paste to run in your game. Just because everything's so like tightly coupled, whereas in Godot, everything's sort of like modular, and like, you know, you can snap bits and pieces wherever you want, and it's really cool. So awesome sauce there. So that took me like 5 minutes to just look it up, copy, paste, throw it on there. Okay, cool, awesome. And then in my main, where I'm creating actually no, it's in my ship code, sorry. In my ship code on the onReady, if we are the player, then we are adding our zooming camera 2D node that we created. We're setting it as the current camera, and then we are adding that camera to ourselves, which I can probably get rid of the self, because we don't need that. There we go. Awesome. So that's how that worked. There you go. Zoomable camera. Cool. Now, the audio manager I'm going to get to last, because that has been, I've got probably 10 hours wrapped up in that, and I'm not even done with it yet, because I think the root of the issue is just my audio. So I'm going to get into that in a few, but you probably noticed I added more ships, and all that was just going down here to my scene tree. And if we go to a ship, you can see on the left here, you know, we've got the setup where we've got our ship, which is a type ship, which is the class that we made earlier. So all of my ships are using that same class. So They're all using the same code. It's just I can come here and in my scene, I can swap out the sprite. I can adjust the collision shape. I can resize the shield to fit the new sprite. And then I can add and rearrange and set defaults for all these different weapon slots that the ship should come with. I can add as many rear thrusters and stuff as I like and position those to where they need to be on the ship. And I think what I might do actually is I might move all of these down. That might look better. So like if we hide the collision here, you can see the thrusters seem to come out from underneath as opposed to on top of the sprite. I think that looks better. So if we hide this shield, I should be able to like move these thrusters to where they're just more noticeable. There we go. There, I like that. And those look fine. So there you go. Just like that, bam. Cool. So I just did that with all of my ships. So every ship has its own scene. And I might do the same thing here where I just take all of these and move these down below the thrusters. Let me hide the collision. This one definitely needs to come out some. There we go. There we go. And this one can probably even go in. Like right here. This one could probably even come down a little bit. I think this should go right here. I think I should move this down a little bit. I think this is like way too high up there. Maybe there, and then this can maybe go right there. Yeah, looks fine to me. Save. So I just did that for all of my ships. Now, every ship has a different number of weapon slots. They have different number of thrusters. And they've got different sprites they use. And over here on the right in the inspector, I'm setting all these exported variables from my ship class. I'm setting those so that every ship is different as far as how it handles, you know, how durable it is, how much health and shields it has, what its maximum speed is, all this different stuff. So lots of cool stuff happening there. Deceleration speed, yeah. So every ship is very similar but very different. So if we go to ship 6, which is my biggest ship, you can see I've got like 6 rear thrusters. I've got just I've got like 15 thrusters on this bad boy. So I've got 18 thrusters on it. So that's pretty sweet. And then I've got 11 weapon slots on it. So this thing is a beast, right? It's got lots of stuff. So yeah, so I just did that for all my ships, and it took me maybe like 10 minutes per ship just to do the process where I would duplicate ship 1. I would go and let's go back to ship 1 here. I would just go and I would set my sprite to be whatever I wanted it to be, and then I would adjust my collision shape. I would resize the shield, and then I would basically hide those, and then I would start positioning all the weapons and the thrusters where I wanted them to go, and I could add or remove as many as I wanted, and then we're good to go. So awesome, good stuff happened there. I love it. Also added shields recharging. I'm not going to show you that because there's nothing really special. It's basically the same thing I did in Game Maker. It's just basically every time a projectile hits my ship or any ship, that ship during the take damage function, it sets the shield recharge cooldown. It just resets it. So then once the shield recharge cooldown reaches 0 and it's time to recharge, it plays the sound and then it just starts recharging the shield. So same exact thing that I did in Game Maker. And I also just fixed so the AI turrets no longer follow my mouse, which is kind of funny. But I just, again, so since we're getting a target, all I'm doing is I'm just passing that target down to my weapons and stuff. And let's see, where am I? I think I'm doing that. I think I made a function for that. So let me go down here. So yeah, I have a set weapons target function. So all it's doing is that anytime I acquire a new target, I just call this set weapons target, which just iterates through all of my weapons. and sets a local target variable on the weapons to my target. And then that's it. So that's all we're doing there. Nothing special. So we got that. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the audio manager. So I've been fighting with this for about 10 hours, and I've tried different stuff. So let me run you through initially what I was doing. My initial thought process is that when I ran the game, it sounded like there were just too many sounds that were trying to be played at the same time. And so I was thinking, okay, what if I just make an audio manager that just, manages how many sounds could be played? So if I have, 200 ships trying to shoot 40 weapons apiece, that's a lot of ships. That's it's like 4,000, like 2,000. I don't know. That's a lot of weapons. That's a lot of sounds trying to be played. So I was thinking, like, I didn't know for sure, but I figured, like, okay, there's only like a set number of audio channels that we can probably be using, kind of like Game Maker had. So I was thinking, okay, what if we just limit it to like 32 or 64 sounds can be played at any one time? So I made an audio manager that exposed functions that would allow you to play a sound, whether it is a normal sound or a positional sound, and it would basically, so anytime a ship wants to fire a weapon, it would just call this sound, and it would basically add it to this queue, and it would just go through, and it would play the sound. It would like instance its own sound player and like move it where it's supposed to go, so that way the positional works. And then if we're over the maximum playing sounds, we would go through and then we would stop any like a previous sound playing, and it just kept doing that. And that quickly became not feasible to do directly, because it had a very high overhead. Because again, if I have 200 ships that each have 2 to 11 weapons each, and every time they're firing, they might be firing like 3 times a second or something. That's a lot of sounds being played. And what was happening is the queue was going through, and it was instancing the sound player is going through the whole shebang, only to instantly tell it to stop and then delete itself. So again, if I can only play 32 sounds at once, and I've got 300 sounds queued up, and it's just going through the queue and knocking those out, it didn't work out well. So, and then I tried a few different things to where it just, stuff wasn't sounding right, and it still isn't. I think I figured out why, but I did like 6 or 7 different things. I tweaked the approach and how I did things. At one point I even was like, okay, maybe what if I just have like a static 100 sound players, and I can only have 32 of them playing at one time, because it seems like there was some overlap, some delay between when I would tell the sound to stop and destroy itself and then when it actually did. So like if we go to my audio manager right now, you can see I have max playable sounds set to 3, but there's more than 3 sounds being played at one time when we're doing this. There's a lot more than 3 sounds being played at any one time. So yeah, so let's go over what I made here, because this is fun. So first things first, I have this set as an auto load. So if you go to my project settings, I just have this script loaded as an auto load under the name Audio Manager. So that means that it's now global. So in my ship, when I go to like say take damage, you can see I have an Audio Manager play positional sound call here. And that's all that is. So I've got 2 arrays. I've got one array to keep track of the sounds that are queued to play. And then I've got another array to keep track of the sounds that are currently playing, so I can tell them to stop if we go over our limit. And then I'm just, I had this set to like 32, and it just sounded awful. Cranking it down to 3 for a joke to see what happens is like, oh, that sounds way better than it did. I don't know why. It should sound terrible, but it doesn't. So, yeah. I also made my own custom sound player scenes, which I probably don't really need to do, but if we go to Audio Manager here and say look at Positional Sound Player, all it is it's just an Audio Stream Player 2D, and then I just have an expire variable that I'm setting when I call it. I probably don't even need to do this. I can probably just do something like let's see. So Audio Stream Player 2D playing. I think it has, yeah, it has a signal called finished. So I could probably just, whenever that signal completes, I can probably just tell it to destroy itself. But anyway, that's just how I have it set up right now. So it's that's how it's working right now. I have an expire variable that I set when I call it, and then in every step in this process function, I'm just subtracting delta from it, and then once we reach 0, I'm just telling itself to destroy itself if it hasn't already been destroyed. So that's all we're doing there. And yeah, so it's the same thing for both positional player and sound player. It's just that sound player is using a audio stream player, not Audio Stream Player 2D. So then I've got the master volume set to not 30%. Set the master audio lower. So I've got like minus 10 decibels. So it's a bit lower. If we go to the audio here, looks like minus 10 would probably be about maybe 50%. So yeah. Anyway, that's where it's at. So let's see, internal helper function. Yeah, so I've got these like, this is all very messy code, and I don't even really want to go through it because it's not even done yet, and I might not even keep it. But and again, this went through like a ton of different iterations as well. But so basically, I have these functions that I prefix with an underscore because they're meant to be like internal functions. I don't know if that's how we're supposed to do it or not, but they actually take care of the heavy lifting where they're setting up they're loading the sound. If they're stopping the previous sound, if we specify that in the argument, then we're stopping the previous sound. So, and that's tied to the calling instance ID and also the sound path. So if a ship tries to play the same sound again when the other one's already playing, we can stop the other one and then just play the new one. And because it couldn't work like it did in GameMaker because now we have positional audio. But in GameMaker, it was just like, hey, is this sound already playing? Then stop this sound and just play it again. But because I'm doing positional audio, you know, if my ship just fires a gun and plays a sound, and it's playing it at full volume, and then an enemy ship comes after like a split second later and fires their gun, but it's playing the same sound, but they're like, you know, they're way far away that the sound would only be like 10% volume. It would sound really weird to have part of your sound cut off for a sound in the distance. So that's the problem I was trying to solve there. Probably a better way to solve it, just like I can probably take into account the distance and then handle it that way. But I was thinking, okay, maybe just every ship can just play their own sound and just do it that way, you know? So then we're instancing the sound player scene. If it's a positional one, we're going to set so we have play positional sound, which is basically the same damn function, just we have global position, and we're setting that global position. So I could probably factor this out entirely and then just add this optional argument, but I just haven't done that yet. So once we instance it, we're adding it to the scene. We're setting its expire time by getting the actual length, the duration of the sound. And then this is old code when I had a static number of players. I don't even need this anymore. Yeah, because we're just instancing it where it's not playing at all. But before I had like 100 players that were set up that I was trying to go through, because maybe I figured it would give it time to set up and stop and destroy itself or whatever. It didn't work. I reverted it. So that's why that was left over. We're setting the stream of the player. We're telling it to play the sound. And then we're also modulating the pitch if we specify that. And then we are appending it to our currently playing array. And we're just doing a struct or a dictionary, as Godot calls it. And we're just storing some stuff. We're storing the player, the sound path that was playing, and also the calling instance ID of the instance that wanted to play this sound. So that's what we're doing there. Again, play positional sound does the same thing. Just it does the position. And then I have a stop previous function, which just takes in the calling instance ID and then the sound path. And it's just checking, hey, it's just going through currently playing and trying to find a match. If we find a sound that's currently playing by the same instance, then we also check if it is the same sound path that's being played. And if it is, then we're just telling it to stop playing and also to destroy itself. And then we're marking it for deletion because I'm doing my read operation first, and then I'm doing my deletion operation after I'm done reading through the array. Because I don't typically like mutating an array while I'm iterating through it. Even though it's probably safe to do because I was breaking out of it here, it's still messy, and I don't like to do it. So that's why I did that way. Now I have these play sound functions and play positional sound function, which are meant to be like called externally. So my ships can call these. And I also have a play non-limited sound, which just sort of skips the queue and just plays it. And so that's all that does here, is it just calls that. And it sets the append argument to false, so it doesn't append it to this currently playing array. Yeah, so play sound just adds it to the queue. Play positional sound, it just adds it to the queue. Now let's get into the fun stuff. So how are we managing this queue? So in the process function here, we're getting the size of the queued to play array. So this is the problem that I was talking about earlier, where if I had like 300 sounds queued to play, it was going through and there was a lot of overhead and it was lagging the game, creating a bunch of nodes that would never even be heard. So what I'm doing here is I'm just getting the size of it. If we don't have anything queued, then we don't have anything to do, so I'm just returning early. And then if we have more sounds queued than we can actually play, then what I'm doing is I'm just cutting out a lot of the sounds. I'm just resizing the array and just discarding all the rest. So if I have 300 sounds queued to play, but I can only play 32 of them, I'm just resizing my array to equal 32, or whatever I have it set to be, which in this case, right now is 3. So I'm just getting rid of all those. Once we do that, then I'm iterating through and playing them. So if I'm checking for the global position, if we have a global position, that means that we need to play a positional sound. If that value is null, which means I didn't include it, then I'm not going to play a positional sound. I'm just going to play a regular sound. So I've got those internal functions happening here, and we're just adding that stuff here, and it's taking care of that business. Now, after it's done, after we're done adding a bunch of sounds to the currently playing, then we're seeing, hey, are we playing too many sounds? So if we were already at the max and we added, say, 3 more sounds to it, we need to probably get rid of 3 older sounds. So that's what we're doing here. We're just verifying if instance is valid of the currently playing sound. If it is, we're just telling it to stop and also to delete itself. And then we're deleting it from the array. So you might notice I'm mutating this array as I'm iterating through it. I'm not necessarily iterating through that array. What I did was I'm just getting the difference. So say, for example, if we had 3 sounds over, and then diff would equal 3. Well, while diff is above 0, then we're going through and we're just constantly working on the first index of this array. And then once we're done with it, we pop it from the front, which gets rid of that first index, and everything shifts down in the array. And I'm just incrementing my diff. That way I don't have an infinite loop. And then once I'm done, I'm doing the same approach for my queued to play. I'm just popping from the front. So yeah, that's what we're doing every time. And I think logically, it's doing what I want it to do, but I think that just the problem that I'm having is that I just need more sounds. And what I mean by that is multiple sounds for each sound. So right now I just have one sound. So if we go to my sound here for my ship firing a light cannon, shoot light cannon. You can't see it because my face is in the way, but it just plays this one sound all the time. Now I'm changing the pitch of it slightly, but with working with audio, I should have known this because I run into it when I early on when I tried recording guitars and stuff like that. You know, to make your metal guitars sound really good, you're supposed to just double track your rhythms. Sometimes you can even quad track them, but you don't just play a riff once and then copy and paste it. You actually play the riff twice. Because the sound waves are slightly different. Because if you just played it, once and you copied and pasted it, it just sounds louder. So that's exactly what's happening with my sound here. Except instead of playing it just two times, I've got it layered like 100 times for all these damn ship shooting, and it sounds so damn loud, and it's blowing out this master bus. So what I need to do is I need to get 5 or 10 different variations for every one of these sounds. So what I think I might do is I might see if I can go. I might pop these files open in Audacity and just kind of maybe change the tempo of it, which would kind of shorten it or lengthen it, and that would give some sound variation. I might try to tweak some EQ settings on there to make them actually sound different, so the wavelengths aren't identical. And I think that's just what I'm gonna have to do. And yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. I think once I get those sounds, I've got 5 or 10 different sound effects for each sound I want to play. So I've got 5 or 10 different ones to pick from for light cannon, medium cannon, any sound that's going to be played many times, such as ship impacts, shield hits, weapon firing, all those things that are going to be playing a lot. I need to have variation of, and I think that will get me by in the long run. And I think I might go back to what I had before, where I'm going to keep this audio manager because it's useful for a few things. So for example, if my ship is about to explode, right? Say if my hit points reach 0 and it's going to explode, and I play the sound of it exploding. But as soon as I play that sound and I delete my ship, before I just had a audio stream player that was the child of my ship here, and if I tell it to play but then delete the ship, it would just delete that node too, and you would never hear it. With this audio manager, it handles that for you. So you just tell it what position you were at, and it just makes a player for you that will just clean itself up after it's done playing the sound. So it's got some uses there, but I think I'm going to go back to maybe every ship having their own audio stream players, maybe for each sound that they should be playing. So for example, one audio stream player for all the light cannons it has, not one for each, but just one for all of them. All 6 light cannons will use the same audio stream player. So as they're firing, it's not playing 6 sounds, it's just playing 1 sound. Because they're all probably going to be firing at the same time. So that would cut out a lot of stuff right there. And it wouldn't have the overhead that my audio manager has to go through of instancing a new audio player and then iterating through arrays and then stopping old instances that probably didn't even get a chance to play yet. And I think this has its uses, but it's not the total answer. So I'm getting closer, but it still sounds like trash when everything is fighting. And yeah, I think once I go back to this approach too, it'll run a lot better as well, because then the audio manager won't be working so hard. Because before I implemented this optimization to where I'm resizing the array, oh my god, this game was lagging so bad. And I was actually going into the debugger and going into the monitors, and I was looking at like the number of objects and nodes, and the nodes kept climbing up like it was almost like a memory leak or something. But what it was is that there were so many sounds that were being played, and it was immediately stopping them, and it just took time for those to actually get freed from the tree. That once all the ships, like once all the fighting died down, the nodes got back to a reasonable level and it sort of cleaned itself up. But it was definitely not optimal, that's for sure. It sucked. It's not good. Also, I spent probably about 2 hours trying to figure out an obscure bug that I ran into that I will impart some knowledge to you. In my ship code, I think it was in my process event. Yeah, right here. So my hit points, I was simply checking if I should be destroyed, and then I was destroying myself, except instead of Q free, I just had something like self free. Which made a big problem. What would happen is I would occasionally get an error, and I'll pull it up here for you so that you can see. So yeah, I would get this error. Underscore first doesn't equal null pointer is true. And it was like object DB instances leaked at exit. And it told me to run with verbose for details. And so once I Googled what that meant, I forgot what it was. But there was a thing that you can do where you could tell Godot to run with the verbose flag. And what that would do is in your output, it would give you a lot more detail. But the problem is it didn't give me any, it gave me a lot more details, but it didn't give me any error. So what was happening is my game would just all of a sudden crash with no error. And I couldn't figure out why. And after doing some research on it, it was that I should have been using Q-free, which, as I said earlier, safely deletes a instance. So Q is a node for deletion at the end of the current frame. When deleted, all of its child nodes will be deleted as well. This method ensures it's safe to delete the node, contrary to object.free. Yeah, it's yeah. So what was happening is it was a sporadic issue. It didn't happen every time. It wasn't always something that I could reproduce. So it would happen like when my game just starts. It would happen when towards the end of a battle. Sometimes it wouldn't happen at all, and I didn't know what was happening. And it was the fact that I was just hitting free, which was like just instantly destroying it. And then I guess there were some leftover references that didn't quite safely get tied up that Q free handles for you. So always use Q free, unless you have a good reason not to. In which case I would like to know why, because I don't have a use case for it currently, other than making my life miserable with a hard to find bug. So if your game is crashing randomly, you can't figure out why, and it's giving an error similar to what I showed earlier, check your code and see if you're just calling free instead of Q free. There you go. Stonks. Anyway, that's all I've got for this episode so far. We are officially feature complete with this port. So I'm not saying that we're done with the game. There's still lots to do with the game, but I'm going to consider this port from GameMaker to Godot a success as far as current project or current progress. And now I can start I think I'm going to clean up my code first, clean up my project, because there's some things that I can definitely optimize here. I mean, even in, yeah, this is all old stuff. I can comment, like commented out code and stuff like that. And especially this audio manager, I'm going to clean this up for sure. But I've just been beating my head against the wall with this for a few days now. I just want to take a break from it and not look at it for a while. So, but I think after code cleanup, I think the next feature that I want to implement is going to be actual UI. So what I would want to have, this is the whole reason that made me switch to Godot in the first place, is I got to the point where I was going to implement that in GameMaker, and I was like, this sucks. I hate it. I would rather learn a whole new engine than do UI in GameMaker. So I think I'm at a point now where I'm just going to work on the actual on-screen UI when you're in the game. And that way it gives you details. Like, first of all, some things I want to have on there is minimap. I'm thinking like top right for the mini map. So let's actually do a fun little thing here. What if we stop moving? There we go. So what if we just take a screenshot of this? Boom, we take a screenshot. Let's pop open Paint. Boom. Okay. So here's what I'm thinking for like the UI, right? Let's just do, just for funsies, let's do a gray and let's fill it in. So let's do fill, solid color. So I'm thinking like we're gonna have a panel like on the right, and then maybe a panel on the left. Because like your view box is going to be a square basically, and it shouldn't be too big a deal, since you know you're going to be attacked from all directions, so having a square view isn't going to be a detriment to you, especially because you can zoom out if you need to. And I'm thinking that the panel over here, I want to have like a mini map up here that would show you you know, what's going on. So we'll have like a mini map, and then I'm thinking that I want to have, you know, like various health bars and stuff. So I want it to be able to show, you know, what maybe we don't need that. We just need one or two health bars, I guess. So you have a health bar for like your actual ship integrity. You know, how much damage you're able to take. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. What went wrong there? Oh, wrong thing. Boom. That's not green. I am colorblind. There we go. And then maybe we'll have one for like shields. Boom. So you can see like, you know, what percentage your shields are at and stuff. And then on top of that, I also want to have various details on like your ship, like how your ship is doing. So for example, you know, we will have things like ship name, I don't know, like what you've got in your cargo hold, cargo hold. I want to have like various details on like how your weapons are doing. You know, you've got weapon 1, ammo, you know, infinite or whatever. You know, you can have all these different details here, so you can see how your weapons are doing. Just details about your ship that you can look at a glance here. And then on the left side, what I envision happening over there is that I want to have like maybe a list of, just a quick list of enemies that are targeting you, or basically whoever is on your enemy list. And there'll be entries that you can actually click on if you want, and it will actually target them on the screen. And then I'll have info about like, you know, your currently targeted, you know, your currently targeted target. So enemy list, and then we'll just put target info, and yeah, and something else I guess down here. So we could probably have something else down here. So I can probably have stuff for like main menu and different other other interface buttons and stuff down here. But something like this is like what I'm envisioning for this, right? And this could suck. I mean, obviously this mock-up it doesn't look great, but I want to make it look good. So I think I can do that. When I was playing with my AI art generator last time, I made a bunch of like different textures. Let me see if I can pull those up. Yeah, so I made a bunch of textures. So I got like some AI generated circuit boards, and these actually tile. They're seamless. So I can kind of make these work. And then I also have like some like metals and stuff that let me find one that doesn't suck. I got like various metal textures that are also tileable that I can sort of throw together, that maybe I can have like metal and then over top of it have like some circuitry, and that could be really cool for like an interface, and then just kind of have like a semi-transparent rectangle with like text on top of it. That way there's never any hard to see text or anything like that. Yeah, just cool ideas that I can probably make work. So that's what I'm thinking for that. And yeah, I think that's gonna be fun, and I think it should be relatively easy to do with Godot's AI, or not AI, UI system. So yeah, I think next episode is going to be me running you through the code cleanup stuff I did, if I do anything noteworthy, and then probably running you through how my UI works. And so that's probably going to be quite a few days, because I've got the holidays are coming up, and I've got a pretty damn busy schedule. So that's also part of why my content slowed down, because it's just taking a long time. But I'm in no rush, and I'm just enjoying this journey. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in whatever video I make next. Woo!